Okay, let's run.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to And I Quote. This is the weekly show where we introduce you to some of the best creators from all over the world, and we find out more about them by taking your questions. I am your host, Ryan of And I Quote channel, and our guest on this episode can be described in a couple of different words and phrases, so I'm going to try to do this as best I can here, but here it goes. If it's excitement that you want, thrills you seek, action you crave, just remember, adventure does have a name. Please welcome Ryan Pote to the stage. What's up, brother? How you doing?
Awesome. How you doing, man? Their intro is fantastic. I love that. It's so great.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted the just in case anyone's wondering, I wanted the intro to speak to my personality, but also different fandoms and characters. And I'm a,
Oh yeah, you had
big fan of-
Seinfeld on there.
I had to.
Then you had Michael Keaton Batman. You had me like.
I had him at the intro, not at hello, but I did have him at the intro. There you go, guys. There's your pop culture reference for the day. We're out. No, but we're thankful that you're here, Ryan, and we're also thankful that you are here, who may be watching or listening to this right now. So do not forget to like and share this with your friends if you're joining us live or on the replay. Thank you so much for doing so. And if you have any questions for our guest of honor, let us know in the comments, let us know in the chat, and we'll have to take those as they come in respectively. Terrence Lay, who came in earlier, he said to us, sorry guys, I can't be here when this thing goes live, but I want to give you both big thumbs up. Thank you, Terrence. Love you, brother. And he also says, looking forward to catching this a little bit later on in my day on the replay. There you go.
Cool.
You'll be here eventually. Terrence, you're off doing some crazy wild adventures with Mitch Mayhew and everyone else that you've written for. One Man's Treasure. There's another one for you. That's a great book too. You should check that out if you haven't yet. That's Terrence, you're a busy man. But with that being said, we're not here to talk about Terrence. No. We're here to discuss the fact that there are two men with the same exact initials being in the same studio in the same place at the same time. We must be disrupting the space-time continuum, as Doc Brown taught us 40 years ago, Ryan. So something's got to give, man. Something's got to give.
Something's got to give.
It really does. It really does. That's a celebrated trilogy, too, and for good reason. Great Scott. With that out of the way, what would you say are some of your favorite books or writers when you were growing up as a youngin'?
Oh man, I've said it before, but it holds true. Clive Cussler, when I was like a younger man, I just devoured everything he wrote, like all the Numa Files, all the Dirk Pitt series. Loved those books. I read Louis L'Amour, a lot of his short adventure stories. Last of the Breed was great. Hondo, his novelization was like absolutely fantastic. Some of the other like short stories like Diamond and Giroux and stuff like that, just really great, really great. And then I read everything that Michael Crichton ever wrote. I think he was way ahead of his time, and I think that his work, it holds to this day. Like not a lot of stuff ages well, and Michael Crichton's still does, and is still kind of the bar that a lot of like today's science fiction is held against. So yeah, Michael Crichton. Great author. And then I read a lot of other obscure authors that, just wrote like little thrillers here and there that like, I don't even think I could remember their names, to be honest, but I was just a big paperback devourer. When I read all Dan Brown's like stuff, even before like, Da Vinci Code, I really enjoyed Digital Fortress, Deception Point. I thought, Dan Brown was always great. It just nobody knew until Da Vinci Code. So.
That's something I'm learning too, because I thought Da Vinci Code was his first book. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, he wrote Deception Point, Digital Fortress, and then Angels and Demons, which was the first Robert Langdon book, which didn't do well.
No.
And yeah, so
that's in the words of our good friend Spock. Fascinating. Very fascinating stuff. Well, that's good names, no problems there. I mean, it's unfortunate what happened with that movie Sahara didn't working out too well, but McConaughey was good in it. I liked it for what it was. I mean, I can turn my brain off and enjoy it.
Yeah, you got to like it for what it was. But what made that movie, what Clive did not like about that movie, and I've talked to Dirk about it too, and like the grudge that he held is just that the movie didn't take itself seriously, and that's kind of the symptom of all adventure that makes it into the mainstream. Not what's going on in the indie space right now, but what I kind of analyzed when I was turning out to write this adventure is, why does everything have to be so campy and make fun of itself? Why can't we have a serious adventure? And for me, like Indiana Jones, like Raiders of the Lost Ark, rings true with almost everybody who sees it, because it was a funny movie, but it took itself seriously. And everything since then has just been this quest to somehow copy it. And it like that movie Fountain of Youth that just came out, right? Like it looked cool in the trailers and it looked like it had a lot of potential, but it was just a movie that honestly didn't take itself seriously, made fun of the genre, and didn't really take its watchers and listeners seriously. And I think I'm not a very big gamer, but the Uncharted video game series by Neil Druckmann by Naughty Dog was probably, I would say, the only thing that really hit the chord for what adventure seekers wanted. It was like a just the narrative arc. Not, you don't even have to play the game. Just the narrative arc that they built in those 4 games with that Nathan Drake character was like the modern day Indiana Jones in all aspects of it. And that was kind of like my inspiration, like, because I looked at what that game did. Why was that game so exciting? Like, I don't like video games, but or like not as an adult, but like I was drawn to that game, and I kept thinking, why am I drawn to this game? And why am I drawn to Indiana Jones? And why are all these others unsatisfying? And I just came to the conclusion that they weren't serious, and the ones that were really grabbed my attention. So when I went out to write this series, I tried to write a serious adventure that still struck all those chords with what we like, but a new fresh take on it.
Wow, that's a better brilliant explanation I could ever come up with. But it makes a lot of sense, though. No, I'm just saying. I'm just trying to give you some kudos here, brother. But yeah, no, it makes a whole lot of sense, because the Fountain of Youth, people were saying this in social media too, that it plays off where Krasinski and Natalie Portman should have been romantic love interests, not brother and sister, or it could have been written a better way to the point where they were romantic love interests. Because looking at Natalie Portman and John Krasinski, I'm like, yeah, I could see these two getting together in a movie. Yeah, I could see it totally. But they just threw a bunch of cash at it and called it a treasure hunter movie, and it didn't really work out that way. So,
yeah,
it's a typical thing in Hollywood, right? You spend $400 million, you spend all this money on CGI, and then you spend the money on the actors/actresses who are part of this project, right? And it's just it's all about style with no substance, Ryan. That's the problem.
Yeah, and I think the writers, I don't know the writing behind that movie, but I saw a lot of people listed, and I feel like, and like Beau L'Amour talked about this with on the Men's Adventure Fiction podcast, is like that, their writers' rooms, all have their input, whereas sometimes a good story is just one person who has control of the whole elements of it and can put that story down. I mean, that's why not even in the adventure genre, but the Yellowstone creator, for some reason Taylor Sheridan, like he writes all of his own stuff and he holds it, and that stuff is resonate. Everything that he's written on TV right now is resonating with people, and it doesn't take a genius to realize that he's writing that stuff all himself, and that is something, there's something to be said for that. Why are novels these days just being eaten up by Hollywood? It's because the story, like when one person writes a story, it resonates with somebody because you're controlling that entire journey, instead of just all these different people kind of breaking the chord of the story apart. So I don't know, that's just my personal opinion on it, which is wrong with half of you. That's okay.
No, it's all good, man. It's all good. You mentioned a few names, though. I'm just curious. What would you say are some of your favorite TV series, past or present, outside of the Yellowstone universe that you mentioned?
Oh, I don't really have a lot of time to watch TV these days, but I was a big Firefly guy. I don't know if you've ever seen that TV show. It's old. It got canceled after one season. It ended up having a movie follow on, which was called Serenity. But that it was a sci-fi like series with this like smuggler, and it was fantastic. I thought the writing was fantastic. The characters were great. Like everything about it was awesome. I really liked that show. Trying to think of like overall, because I don't really watch too much TV anymore, so it's really hard for me to think of one off the top of my head. It'll come back to me, but just on the spot, Firefly was a really great show.
Well, we aim to misbehave. Well done, Nathan Fillion. You know, because a lot of people
Yeah.
for years and years and years were championing him to become Nathan Drake in an Uncharted movie.
Yeah.
You know,
He
they really
even
thought
did
he
like
was
a fan
tailor-made.
fiction.
He did a
He did
fan
like a
film,
little
yeah.
movie. It's great. It was
Mhm.
awesome. And now, he's too old to do it. And,
Sadly.
and they kind of ruined it. They kind of ruined the franchise in Hollywood with that
Mark
movie.
Wahlberg and Tom Holland. Yeah.
Yeah, I talked about this with Terrence too, that, it wasn't just the casting. They failed to bring over the things that I was talking about that made the series great. And they didn't bring that over. It was too over the top. And like I said, again, it made fun of itself and it made fun of the genre. And that's just like this cycle that I don't know why they always do that to adventurous stuff. It's like the need to be like a campy B movie. Like they just feel the need to make it that way. I don't understand it.
Yeah, it's a sad thing that Hollywood is doing. Get better writers. Get Ryan Pote to be one of your writers. He knows what he's doing. More so than a lot of other writers out there. I'm just saying.
Maybe soon. I'll just drop that right now. Maybe
We're gonna put it out into the universe. You never know, right? Outside of Raiders of the Lost Ark and some of the other ones, any other favorite movies that come to mind for you?
Ooh, that's yeah. Books I could tell you. How about I tell you favorite books instead of movies because
okay.
they're more on my mind. Sphere,
Sure.
Michael Crichton's Sphere is one of my favorite books of all time. In just the way he took a science fiction, the way he leads you into the opening of that book, the way he brings you into it as a reader is phenomenal. And then the way he reveals that you're in a sci-fi story is absolutely fantastic. And then how he twists that into a psychological thriller with so many different layers on it is unbelievable. And so that's probably one of my favorite books of all time. And the movie wasn't bad either. But in terms of just straight movies, I mean, I like, my gauge of a good movie is something I want to watch again. Jurassic Park the movie and Jurassic Park the book, completely different, right? But equally as good. Like the book is phenomenal. Obviously, it was way ahead of its time. They got to do what they're doing, in Hollywood to make it work. The movie was still super great. So those two like hold all the time. Like I could watch Jurassic Park like tomorrow. I think it's a great movie. I think other movies that were done really well, like Interstellar. I could watch Interstellar like, again. I watched it dozens of times, but that could be a movie that I'm just like, oh yeah, what do I feel like watching tonight? That could be one of them too. So might not be what everyone was thinking, like when I'm, writing adventure and stuff like that. But I have a lot of wide taste. I feel like a lot of people who like this kind of genre also like sci-fi. I'm generalizing, but all of my friends and close people are all into sci-fi, into this kind of adventure stuff. Rarely do I find somebody who's not kind of open to both.
Well, that's understandable. Yeah, and here I am now talking to myself. That's chaos theory. That's chaos theory. All I'm saying that, Ryan, is that life finds a way.
Life finds a way.
There you go. Once again, this is And I Quote with Ryan Pote, the guest of honor. Don't forget to like and share this with your friends.
I'm getting the show now. I'm going to have to start loading up my quotes.
I was going to say, I think you are starting to get the gist of it here. So, and if you're watching us live on the replay, thank you for doing that. If you have any questions for our guests, let us know in those comments of the chat. If you want to drop some random movie quotes on him, see if he can get them, which probably he won't. But if you want to quiz him anyway, go right ahead because, he's only watched like 5 movies in his life. But
that's right.
No, I'm kidding. It's, well, to each their own. It's okay. We're not going to judge you here. But I'm just curious, though. What made you decide to become a writer?
I didn't want to be a writer. I was just a consumer of books, movies, television, and some video games and stuff. And I didn't ever write fiction. I went to college for history. I got my master's in history, so I read a lot of nonfiction as well. And I got out of the Navy, and I got out earlier because of an injury. And so my prospects for jobs were kind of shot because I couldn't fly anymore. And I dedicated like 12 years of my life to that. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? And transitioning out of the military is always difficult. You don't really know like where your skills kind of apply. So I ended up falling into a job with the government, kind of still kind of attached to aviation, but doing like investigative work with aviation contracts. And then I started realizing that I was dealing with some pretty serious PTSD from flying, and it was starting to affect like all areas of my life. So I ended up seeing a counselor, and they had me just start journaling about, times that I had almost died or anything scary that had happened. And I started doing that on a daily basis before work. And then they wanted me to complete the exercise. They wanted me to like share these things in a group setting and have other people ask me questions and just kind of talk about it out loud. That was kind of the purpose of the exercise. Cause like I'd never really discussed anything. Like you come home from deployment, you do it again. You come home from a bad flight, you just learn from your lessons, put it in the back of your head and move forward. And it's not something that you talk to your wife about. You talk to your, all my close friends when I was in the military were in my squadron or in, and you don't really, despite what people would think, you share those kinds of things as like a lessons learned debrief kind of thing, share them with everybody, but that's kind of feels like work. And when you're just around with everybody, you don't really talk about them. You just kind of like, move forward, and you have to kind of build calluses over those things. And so, even with your friends, you don't really discuss a lot of it. Family, you don't want to worry them. So I'm not going to, tell my dad or tell my wife or tell my brother or like, all these things, because then they're just going to worry 10 times more when I'm gone and I can't talk to them for 3 weeks and stuff. So you just don't talk about anything. So anyways, talking about it was super helpful. But I did not feel comfortable talking about drug cartels and stuff like that because it was so fresh that I had just come off of that stuff. And they're kind of all over, the United States and things. And so she was like, just fictionalize your stories, just change the person's, places, things. Doesn't have to be you. You can write about it like it's somebody else, or you can, don't even have to say you were in the military, just, write it. So I started doing that, just fictionalizing these little events. And I all of a sudden didn't need the counseling anymore. I was just writing these little stories every day that were fiction, almost like little fiction short stories, basically. And it started helping me. It started literally fixing me. And my wife noticed a difference. Everybody did. So I was like, well, maybe I'll write a history book, because that was what I was kind of trained in. And so I started to do that. And then I realized like, hey, like this fiction stories were actually what were helping me, not the nonfiction writing. The nonfiction writing didn't have the same effect on me. And other writers can probably appreciate that. When you're writing fiction, you're kind of like in a different place in your head and you're processing things differently. So, so I started, I just said, okay, I'm going to try and write a book. And I did. And I ended up writing 5 books. Took me years to get published. I got an agent, lost an agent, and had little momentum, lost it, over 400 plus rejections before I stopped counting, and completely gave up, was going to self-publish everything. And then, as typical, when you give up your ambition, truly give it up in your heart, that's usually when, God steps in and takes over, and he did. And literally, once I gave that up, the next day, everything started happening for me, and now I'm here.
Man, peaks and valleys you went through, peaks and valleys for sure. But congratulations on that. That's fantastic. Luke Goodish is here. He says, Ryan, congratulations on the book release. For anyone watching or listening, Blood and Treasure is something special. Books like this don't come around too often. Don't miss out. Get a copy.
Thanks, Luke.
There you go. Mad props. See, everybody nothing here. Everybody loves you. It's nothing but love, brother. It's like the song says. It's just one of those things. But no, in all sincerity, though, congratulations. That's wonderful stuff, man. Honestly, peaks and valleys. But you've been through heck and back. But you made it through. You're here. You got Blood and Treasure out now, which all 7 billion people on this earth are talking about it, because everywhere I look, I see Blood and Treasure this, Blood and Treasure that. It's on my social media feeds. It's on my pages. It's everywhere I turn. I see this name and this title all over the place. And I'm thinking to myself, man, this person must be doing something right, because I don't have my name on the marquee like this guy does. At least not yet. Yet.
It's people like you and Terrence and Luke that, have been sharing everything. And that's truly how a book spreads, is just through people who've read it and tell a friend and tell another friend. And that's how it used to be, back before social media and all this massive flooded market. It was just people read a book and they told other people, and that's still today is the only way. I mean, you can market all you want, but at the end of the day, it just comes down to the book and whether it resonates with people. So I'm super happy that it's resonating with people, at least in this genre, that appreciate what I was trying to do with it. Because like I joking and in full cliche, pun intended, like I poured a lot of my own blood and treasure into this book. So and the series to come. So I'm just glad that it found readership.
That's very, very true. And it kind of segues brilliantly into our next question. What would you say are some of the biggest rewards about being a writer?
Oh boy. I mean, just a writer in general, or finally getting it published?
No, a writer in general, if you don't mind.
Oh, I mean, a writer in general, like, so, when I left the military, it's, you hear a lot of like transition stories. People feel lost and they don't know what to do. I was definitely one of those people. Like I had a lot of skills and a lot of different things that I could have done. I had a good resume, but I just really did not. It's funny, like you do something like being a pilot in the Navy, and people immediately think like, oh, you're super confident and super this, super that. And in that job, yes, I was. But then leaving that job, all of a sudden, like the skills, you don't really know how they translate to jobs in the civilian sector. You don't really know how, you don't really know what you're into anymore, because you've most people who became a pilot in the military wanted to do it since they were younger, and they planned all through high school to get there, and it was a long road, and I was one of those people. So like getting out of the military, I was very lost. I didn't really know where I fit in. I almost had to reinvent myself, and from flying, there was a satisfaction in being like a professional, and like all that effort that you study all the time, and that you have to go to bed early, and not have that drink with friends because you're flying in the morning, and your whole life is controlled by the flight schedule. It's just a complete life dedication when you're a military pilot, and so when all of a sudden that's gone, there's really like a void in your life of some kind of, not just like purpose to be, not just purpose, but like a mission. Like you need to have like something that you're doing, some kind of deadline, some kind of, because we were used to studying like every single day, and then like really hardcore studying. So I felt like I needed that still, and I found it with writing. Like with writing, not only was it the cathartic exercise of like just being in my own head and putting these stories together, but writing a book became like a mission. I could go on my calendar, I could plan it out, and I could give myself a mission to complete. And a self-imposed deadline is the best kind of deadline for your whole life. And then I found that the studying and all that stuff, it just was what I was craving, to kind of feel the same like I did, when I was in the military. So it almost was like the perfect bridge to military life to civilian life for me, because I treat it and I approach writing the same as I did in the military, like preparing for a flight or a mission, or planning a mission or anything like that. So it became the missing piece for me in the new building block of who I was going to be post military. And even before, like without getting published, like I mean, like I wrote 5 books and a screenplay before I ever got published. Like I was doing this because I liked it, and you can't keep doing this and have a good life at home, and have a fulfilling life at home, if you don't love every part of the process. Now, like with those books that I wrote before, I didn't just write them and like toss them. Like I poured everything into each one of them, like it was going to be published as a #1 New York Times bestseller. Like I gave each one my all, but I wasn't getting paid for it. I wasn't, I had normal life. My family knew it wasn't bringing in any money or anything like that. So it forced me to really assess whether I, really did enjoy it or not. And I found out that it was my passion, and whether I got paid to do it or not, like I absolutely loved it. I loved the process, and it made me become very efficient at it, because I had to weave it into my life, because I had a full-time job. I had family responsibilities. My wife is my best friend. So it was, I had to streamline my life to make it work with my life. And it became my only hobby. Like I cut out all my other, adventurous hobbies and everything else that I used to do, and just focused on writing. So for some people, that's a really hard thing to do. But I've realized that that's honestly what it takes. Goals are subjective. My goal was to make this a career and live off of being a writer. So in order to do that, I had to try and, get traditionally published, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to bring my flavor of adventure into the mainstream. And so those were my goals when I set out to do it. And I'm still not done yet. So, a lot of people ask me like, oh, does it feel so good to have this book published and stuff? It does. But my goal was never really to get a book published. My goal was to make this a job, and I'm not done yet. So.
Wow. So the IMF came to you and they presented you with a mission, and you chose to accept it.
I chose to accept it.
Exactly. Yeah. Plus, the new movie just came out a couple months ago. Final Reckoning, as it's being called. So, haven't seen it yet, but
haven't seen it yet either.
I look forward to seeing how TC Legend is going to wrap up that series, and then he's going to move on to making a sequel to Top Gun 2. He stated he's interested in making a sequel to Days of Thunder from 35 years ago.
Whoa.
Yeah. I don't know if you heard the news or not, but they're going to make sequels to both Top Gun and Days of Thunder now. So
I don't, but I actually have a funny story about Top Gun 2. So
I
was still in I was in the Navy when they were filming it. I was stationed in Maryland.
No kidding.
And they were Paramount worked hand in hand with Pac Air, which was stationed based out of San Diego.
Oh, there you
go. That was my previous squadron. So a lot of people reached out from there and were like, hey, the Navy is or Paramount needs all these extras, and to save money on like uniforms and personnel, they're opening it up to all active duty people first, and they're going to fill all the slots with active duty pilots first, and then they'll fill it with extras as required. So this huge blanket thing went out to the Navy, and my buddy was like, you got to do it, and I was like, I mean, that would be cool. So we both sent in like some photos, and we both got accepted. And then they wanted to see a picture of my wife, and my wife's like super hot. So anyways, they got a picture of her, and then, they were like, oh, we want you both to be in it. So then we're both going to be in the movie. And then they asked me if I could drive a motorcycle, and they wanted me to like ride a motorcycle in. I was going to have a line in like the bar scene that was in that movie.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I was going to be in 3 scenes.
That's awesome.
My wife was going to be in 2.
Yeah.
And but what happened was I was still active duty, and I was still they kept changing the filming dates like last minute, kept changing, and we ended up not being able to do it because there was only 6 pilots in my unit at the time, and we were shuffling around leave trying to make it happen, and it finally came down to it where I was like, look, I switched my leave and bought plane tickets twice, and you're only paying me $125 to do this. Like I can't keep buying and chucking plane tickets, and I'm losing all my leave. So we had to back out. But it was really funny because I texted my friend Mona Lisa, who's actually a character featured in the book, and we were pilots together, and she was still active duty too. And I was like, hey, I'm going to be in the movie. And her only response to me was she sent me a picture of her with Tom Cruise because she was his personal liaison for the whole movie. So just a funny little.
Oh, bro.
So I was not in the movie, but it would have been so much fun to be in. But I had a lot of friends who were in the movie. So.
It's still cool. Don't get me wrong.
But... Oh yeah, I mean, for someone who grew up like watching that movie on repeat, and it's what made me want to be a pilot, it would have been so cool to be in that movie. And I tried. I just wanted, for the novelty of saying I was in it, tried to do it, but didn't work out.
Well, they are going to make a Top Gun 3, so.
Man. Yeah, I don't even think my uniforms would fit me anymore.
Darn it. Because otherwise I would say there is going to be a threequel, so you could throw your name in the hat for the threequel. I don't know. Yeah. If it's a possibility, you may want to look into it. I don't know. It's up to you, and it's up to what's going on in the filming schedule, and obviously the scheduling is a very big part of it. Clearly it is, because when you told me you had to keep switching back and forth, I'm just like, geez, I feel so bad for this guy. Man, you and the missus should have been in that gosh darn movie, man. I could have said, I knew this guy when.
We were joking that, like, my friends and I were joking that, like, once they saw my wife, they'd be like, hey, you, like, meaning me, like, can you get out of the shot? And all of a sudden, like, she's in a scene with Glenn Powell, and all of a sudden they're kissing, and I'm like, this is great. Like, I'm just the guy holding the drinks now. Like, that would end up, what would happen?
Jeez. Just out of curiosity, though, as a bit of a follow-up to that, favorite song from the soundtrack of Top Gun? What's your favorite song?
Oh, I mean, clearly it's that opening intro song.
So it's Danger Zone by our good friend Kenny Loggins.
Is that how that one begins? Like the
the instrumental part. No. That's Harold Faltermeyer. That's Harold Faltermeyer. Right
it's
there,
the instrumental part. It's the instrumental part.
Okay.
Because like in our community, at least in my generation of Navy pilots, you play that chord and almost every single one has like they perk up a little bit. They know it, they hear it, like
fist pump maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deep
Okay,
down,
understandable.
deep down.
Understandable. I'm a little biased, but my favorite is Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins, which kicks in after the instrumental part of it stops.
I mean, most Navy pilots' favorite second song in that movie is "Playing with the Boys," because we all parody the volleyball scene any chance we can.
Did you hear that scene took like almost a week to shoot, and the studio was getting upset because they were spending so much money just shooting that one scene in the volleyball sequence? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't know that, but I believe it.
And Tony Scott, the director of Top Gun, the original one, by the way, R.I.P. to Tony Scott. You know, he got fired like multiple times while filming that movie. Do you know that?
No.
The studio kept firing him because they were tired of him shooting certain scenes that took longer than expected, and it was ticking off the studio heads. Yeah, look it up, man. Well, it's real.
That kind of stuff is why good movies were made back then. I think maybe
everybody was a rebel.
Yeah.
You don't want to get mixed up with a guy like me, Dottie. I'm a loner, a rebel. Anyway, that's a line from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. But still, flip side, there's a movie for you. The flip side of the coin, though, what are some of the biggest challenges about being a writer?
Once again, being a writer in general or getting published?
Getting published. Let's switch it up for you.
So yeah, okay. So getting published, the hardest thing for me, I'm not just going to say blanket the hardest thing. The hardest thing for me is I got very quick at writing, and I am very quick. So the publishing process takes a very long time. So I would get my editorials back from my editor, and I'd be done in like 2 days, and and then I would turn it back in, and I'd wait like 45 days to get it back. And same with like the copy edit, like, so that, and that was just like one little snippet, and there's multiple stages. So, you're waiting like 6-7 months, for instance, my second book in the series was due this July 7th, this past July 7th. And I finished it and turned it in by Christmas. And I thought, wow, I'm way ahead of the game. And I didn't get my editorials back until May. And then, and it's still not even in copy edit. So, that's kind of like a snippet of the process. Whereas for me, like when I was writing before this, like I would have been done, and I would have immediately gone into the editing phase and just kept cranking until the book was complete. So that's been kind of the hardest thing for me, is filling that time in between. And I've gotten a little bit better. With Blood and Treasure, I didn't know. So I would get it, and I would be just sitting there waiting on the edge of my seat every day, checking my email, being like, and I don't know everybody well enough yet to like ask them, so it was honestly worse than querying a submission. It was just like, when am I going to get this back? Like, did they like it? Did they like what I did? And then, and now I've kind of learned to fill that time with, extra projects where whatever, extra content or extra tie-in content to the book, or like now it's complete other writing projects. Like I know how much time is going to be in between. So filling the void has definitely was a challenge. And for me, like I have to fill the void, because I can't sit around and wait for it, because A, you don't know how long it's going to take for them to get it back to you. And B, like I'm still kind of on my mission right now. So I'm like, okay, well, what else can I do? So, I'm writing, we have an audio drama out right now. It's a sci-fi. We've got a book for Choose Your Own Adventure for kids. We've got a whole bunch of other stuff. So yeah, just keeping busy. And then the copy editing process is pretty frustrating. They're essential. I mean, copy editors are essential. They don't do it in-house at Penguin. They like send it out to an independent contractor, but you get it back, and they do catch a lot of things for you. A copy editor's job is to like standardize the book for like the standard spelling and the way that they do sound effects, or like how some sound effects are like in italics and they're lowercase.
Right. Yeah.
Like, so they standardize everything to like the publisher's format. but they also do that to like all the dialogue. They make everything grammatically correct per an ALA standard. And for me, that was really difficult because I write my character, the way I write dialogue and the way I write my characters is very unique. Like Salman Rushdie once said, like, you know, writer's style and a writer's voice is knowing the rules of writing and then breaking them in your own way. And I would do that with dialogue like a lot. And so if you're one of the people, I've got a lot of people tell me that the dialogue and the characters feels and sounds real, and the way that they go back and forth is real. And that's all. A copy editor hates everything that I just did, and they're gonna, well, they don't hate it, but they have to change it. So they basically just like make everything this like very bland wooden kind of dialogue that just sounds all grammatically correct, and it just you know, if you have a foreign character and you misarrange the words, they fix that. And then they don't what's frustrating is they do not like redline it and ask you. They just do it. So you have to like pull up your original version and like go back through and you know, fix it all. And as the author, I was always given the last final say, but it was a lot of like churn to get it back to the way I wanted it for that. But they had a lot of good things too. They would catch like details that you didn't remember. Like, you know, maybe you said that there were two, maybe in an earlier scene you said that there were like two of something, and then later on you thought there were three. And so they'll like they do like a double check for you on that kind of stuff, which I honestly do that kind of stuff myself. But you know, even one, they'll catch it, and so they're still helpful, but frustrating.
Speaking of frustration, Nate Hummel says copy editors hate this man, but dialogue fans love him.
Nate's awesome.
Well, I mean, Nate, Luke, Terrence, all the wonderful people of the Men's Adventure Fiction Discord family, because it is a family. It really is. It's not a dysfunctional one, I don't think, but it is it's an interesting bunch. I'll just put it that way. Especially if you dive into some of the threads we have in our Discord, there are some conversations that just go a little bit of a different direction than what I'm used to personally, Ryan. And I think to myself, what is going on? I feel like I'm in an episode of The Twilight Zone. But we still love you guys. No,
it's awesome that they have it, and I've been invited, and I peruse it, but I don't know if I'm like, I don't think I'm much older than anybody else, but I think I missed the Discord train because here, put it in perspective. Like when I came back from deployment,
yes,
I was gone for like 2.5 years, and I came back, and key fobs were like standard, and like the key fob, like you walk up to the car and like lights come on and stuff like that, became like a feature on some cars, and Uber appeared in those 2.5 years, and Instagram was bought by Facebook and became this big platform, and like everybody was on Instagram. And so like when I came back, I almost like replugged myself back into life, and my wife was kind of just like, all these things were normal to her, like, oh, let's catch an Uber, and I'm like, what the hell is Uber? And that's kind of how I feel with like Discord and things like that. I'm like, I don't know, I'm two heads down. Like I said, I cut out everything to do this, so I'm in a bubble now. So,
which is okay. It's understandable. You know, writers got to write so the readers can read. You know, as Sean Connery taught us in that little indie film called Finding Forrester. I don't know if you've ever heard of it or not.
Love that. I have heard of that movie,
dude. Finding Forrester. I actually wrote a book report, like not a book report, but I like wrote somewhat of a book report that's similar to, it was like a movie review, but it was kind of like a book report about that movie and how it is about writing, because it really is. The whole movie is about him mentoring a young man who's in high school to become his own writer. Like he's mentoring this kid to find his voice as a writer.
Love that.
And get things rolling. So if you're interested in things that feature writing, look up Finding Forrester with Sean Connery and Rob Brown. F. Murray Abraham is in it. He plays a ruthless teacher of a high school. Prep school. And it's directed by Gus Van Sant, who also directed Good Will Hunting.
Okay.
So, you know, how you like them apples. There you go. Once again, this is, and I quote with Ryan Pote, the New York Times bestselling writer. Don't forget to like and share this with your closest friends. I'm sorry. Is that too soon? Is it too soon?
Oh yeah, you're way too soon for that. I think Yeah, I think we're very far from that right now, but
All right.
tell your friends.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm just trying to get the word out for you, man. That's what we do around here. We market
me.
each other. That's what we do. We build each other up, not tear each other down. That's the business. But what I was saying was, if you have any questions for the guests of honor, let us know in the comments for the questions. If you watch this live around Memorax, there's a throwback for you. Hello there. With that being said, what advice would you give to aspiring writers out there?
Man, there's too much advice out there. Don't listen to all the advice. I mean, I did not listen to the advice. Like the thing that I noticed when I was coming into this, um, what do you want to call it? Like industry, was that it was kind of an echo chamber. So like a lot of the authors are and I've seen this and experienced it too. Are friends with the other authors, and they're in the same social media circles, and everything just kind of gets regurgitated within itself. And there's all these like rules about you got to know where your book is placed on the bookshelves, or you're not ready. That's totally false. You got to know you have to write in one genre. And like when I was first writing this book, people told me, very big New York Times bestselling authors told me that I had to pick whether it was going to be Clancy or whether it was going to be Cussler. Because in the beginning, they were kind of like, this is a Clancy Cussler fusion. And, they were like, you got to pick, man, who's your audience? And I'm like, I'm my own audience. Like I'm writing what I want to read. So, you hear a lot of things like that. You hear just author after every author has their own, rules for how to break into this industry. My advice is don't listen to any of those people. Don't listen to anything, any advice, even my advice. Just do your thing, but pour everything that you have into it, and write something that you believe in, and get better. Just beat the other guy. Like that's the advice. Like if you want to be in mainstream publishing, look at who's out there and say, I can do it better, and do it better. And that's all you can do, and I said that to myself and did that and still failed. So you've just got to, that's why I say, like, you have to love every part of this process. And you got to be okay with it if you don't make it. But I will say that when you get to that point of giving up and you push through and you write another book, and you get to that point of giving up and you push through and you write another book, and then you finally do give up, there's something about giving up an ambition in your heart. Like, I want to be a published author, because whatever that because is, like, once you just get rid of that, like, I don't care anymore. Like, you would have to pay me. You couldn't pay me enough money to want to do this anymore. Something happens when you do that, and your attitude, your mentality changes. You become more confident in your own work when that switch goes off. And like that happened for me. And like not a word changed in this book. It was just my attitude changed, and then everything changed. So, yeah, but don't listen to me. Don't listen to anybody. So what I just said, forget about it.
So, all right. So in other words, when we don't listen to you or go a different direction, it simply comes down to this.
Yes! Hell yeah! Hey, come on, baby! Come on! Yes! Come on! Ah! Yes! Yes!
Yeah.
March to the beat of your own drum, fellas.
Yeah, that's the best advice, is don't take any advice.
Okay. I've never heard anyone ever say that to me. Don't take any advice. That's all I can tell you. Don't take any advice.
Because everybody's on a different path.
That's
and
true.
They're doing their own thing. And
You're right.
And there's something weird that happens when you start doing an artistic expression, like for the first time. You're very insecure and you don't believe in yourself. And despite all of the confidence you may have had in your life prior, you get into this, it just feels like you're naked standing in front of a room every time, and you're timid and you're meek. And but when you finally just don't care anymore, all that confidence comes back, and people can the people who are buying your book, right, can hear it, can feel it, you write a pitch to try and sell it. All of a sudden you write that pitch differently. Like, it's just like your whole aura changes and people pick up on it. So I know that my agent, when I got who my agent is now, like, I didn't put a submission to him. I was linked up to him, and he talked to me on the phone first. He didn't want to know anything about my book. He didn't want to know he just wanted to talk to me and like about writing. And and like he told me that all these things, that just that air of confidence coming off of me, and that wasn't there before. So
Understandably so. I mean, this isn't necessarily advice I would give anybody, but when I'm writing my short stories, I prefer it to be fun because I think writing should be fun. So
Yeah.
I just write for fun, man. I don't do it for money. I just do it because it's fun. And when it gets out there and it's
Yeah.
published, and if someone reads it and they enjoy it, great. But if they don't enjoy it, that's fine too, because not every story is going to strike a chord with every single reader, because every piece of art that's ever been put out in the world is subjective. It may ring a bell for someone, and then it may not ring a bell for somebody else. And that's fine with me. It doesn't bother me. As long as I'm writing and I'm enjoying it, and there are people out there who are, what do you call it? Like helping me out or building me up, not tearing me down. And you're in a community of other writers that share the same passion and fire and energy and electricity that you do. Oh yeah. That's when, you've won the prize, man. So that's just how I look at writing. Writing should be fun. It shouldn't be like a chore. It shouldn't be something that the bills are depending on. No. Do it because you love it, man. Honestly, do it because you like it. That's how I feel about it. I don't know what your reaction to that would be, but
no, you have to like it, because I see all these authors now too, like they'll write and they're constantly posting stuff about how awful this process is, and I'm like, well, then why are you writing? Like, why are you putting yourself through this? You're going to burn out. You're going to burn out, and you're not going to get where you want to get, whatever your goal is, because if you hate editing your own work, or you hate coming up with an outline if you outline, or you hate sitting down in the morning to write, then you're not going to make it very far in writing, because that's the job.
In the words of our good friend Morgan Freeman, he's right, So outside of that, though, and I know this is still early in the process for you, but I'm just curious, have there been any special memories for you from being at book signings or other events where you are signing your book, whether it's at a coffee shop or some of the things or stops that you've made so far
I
on
haven't.
the Blood and Treasure tour?
Yeah, I haven't really done. It's been a lot of these online things, which I prefer, because they reach more people and you can go more places. The publisher, I'm such a new author, they're not sending me anywhere. Anything that I do is on my own dime. I still have a full-time job, so when I have to choose between doing these or trying to go somewhere, I did a couple, like just like of I guess you could call them events at local bookstores that nobody shows up. It's just you really networking with the bookstore and the people who are selling your book, and that's really like what it is. It's your opportunity to prove to them that you're willing and able to help sell books, and willing to collaborate with them, and to try and help them sell your work. So that's kind of what those are. But I will say on one of those, like the only people that came were like my close family and friends, and like and they wanted, this book is dedicated to my son, who shares the namesake of my protagonist, and so and he just learned to write his name, so he signed some books with for family and friends, like with me. So that was really cool. He signed it under the dedication. He's 4.5, so it was that was kind of cool. And he was walking around like a little celebrity, like, I gotta sign another book, like, hang on, like, hold my water. So that was probably the most memorable experience with that, was having, and I had some people from my prior military service make a long drive with their families to come out and support me with the book, and they happen to be inspiration for characters in the book. So it was really cool to have that.
Oh, that's special. Family, isn't that special? Nate Hummel has a question for you. What was it like being on Jack Carr, the immortal Jack Carr's podcast? I know you mentioned on his show that he was one of the people who made you think about really writing.
Well, not really writing, but writing fiction, because like I'd said, I was going to write like a history book, and my perception of being a fiction writer, I don't know what it was, because I'd never given it another thought. I just knew that I read these books that were super complex, and I didn't really know anything about it. So my perception was that you had to go to school for it, and you had to, get some kind of MFA in creative writing, and I'm like, wow, I've never taken any of those classes. And so I thought it was kind of out of my wheelhouse. And then when I saw him on the Joe Rogan podcast, like when it was first time on there, he had 2 books out already, I think. But he was like a former Navy guy who got out about the same rank, and was like, just talked about how he read a lot and wasn't, didn't have any formal training in writing. And, here was a published author, and I was like, and everybody's raving about the authenticity of it and stuff like that. So I started kind of looking into that a little bit, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll give that a shot, because I'm writing for myself anyways. So instead of just doing these journals, maybe I'll just write a book, and then if it does something, it does something. But the whole process of writing the book just leveled up that journaling experience. And then I just couldn't stop. So I would keep writing more, and I started taking classes, like master classes and stuff. So anyways, but his question about being on the Jack Carr podcast, it was great. I mean, Jack's super nice. He didn't have to have me on the show. A close friend of mine who knows him, we know a lot of people in the same circles from like my service, and they kind of helped get me on the show to help get me some awareness and stuff. And Jack hadn't didn't know me personally until then. And so he didn't have to have me on, but he did. And it was super, super nice of him. But it was funny. So when we were in there, like I knew he hadn't really read the book yet. Cause I got thrown in there on the show, and he's super busy and stuff. But afterwards he sent me a message that he like really wanted to go back through and read the book better, because he did really enjoy it. So that was nice to hear from him. But we talked a lot about like military and stuff. It was fun being on a show because I mean, he inspired me to write fiction, and then here I am full circle, like on his show, and we're talking about my book and talking about my military service, and it was fun. It was also really fun because he's kind of like has all these different people on from all these different kinds of military backgrounds and others, but it was really cool to I came from kind of a niche. The counter narcotics mission was kind of like a afterthought in the special operations community, and everyone was so focused on the war back in 2013, 14, 15 that nobody really even knew what we were doing down there. And so it was really cool to talk to him about that, and to have him ask me questions about that from his perspective, and get to really dive deep in it, because I hadn't really got a lot of those deeper questions about it. So we got to go deeper into the mission that we did down South America, and it was just it was cool to hear him have the same kind of reaction as a lot of people, like, oh, I didn't even know we were doing that, because not a lot of people had really heard about it. So it was fun. It was fun being on his show. It was he was super nice. All of his people were very professional, and I hope to be on again in the future. It was a good time. And we chatted a little bit offline too. Our offline chat was just great. He's just such a nice guy.
Yeah, I've heard about Jack Carr and his books. I haven't, unfortunately, I haven't read any of them yet. Sorry, guys. I'm a little behind, and plus I've been living in a bubble for a long time. So, until I started to dive into the Men's Adventure Fiction Discord that Ryan and I are in, I didn't really know who some of these other writers were. And I thought, Jack Carr, what is that? And they're like, oh, dude, you got to read like the Terminal List series. You got to do that. I'm like, oh, great. That means more homework for my TBR back here, Ryan. This is all TBR. Yeah. This is just a tip. This is the tip of the iceberg, man. It's
I believe it. That's one thing that I will say about being a writer that's hard. Going back to your earlier question,
sure,
is you can't, like, two things. Once you really like start studying your craft of writing, reading was never the same. It's like you can't watch magic tricks anymore, because you know how they're all done. So you're kind of reading everything with an editor's eye, and so it ruins reading forever. And then on the same token, you don't really have time to read anymore. So I'll say, like, being a published author, I don't really have time to read anymore, because now I'm getting solicited to do like reads for other people, or I have so many projects going that I'm editing my own work any chance that I get. So I don't really have time to read myself. So when I do get to sit down and read, it's always like rushed, and I'm taking notes. And so, like, I can sympathize with people like Jack, who didn't really have time to give my book the time that he wanted to, because I can only imagine he's even 10 times busier than that. So yeah, it being a writer ironically ruins reading for you. And I'd actually heard that before I was ever a writer, I listened to an interview with Lee Child, where he talked about how one of the reasons why he was stepping away from writing was because he just missed reading, and he wanted to read again for enjoyment. So I thought that, now I can kind of relate to that, and I'm just starting out.
Well, Alan Richardson is doing quite a good job playing Reacher, so he'll be fine. Let Lee Child do his own thing. And what's Alan Richardson, aka also known as Aquaman from Smallville, my favorite TV series of all time, playing Reacher, he's going to do just fine. That guy is built like a freaking truck, man.
He is. If you want to see him when he's really skinny and not built like a truck, you should. He was in an old TV show about college football called
Blue Mountain State, I think it was.
Yeah.
I've heard things about it. Me personally, I haven't seen Blue Mountain State, but I've heard good things about it. I haven't seen it yet. But just out of curiosity, though, because this is the thing that everyone's been talking about for the last several weeks. For someone who's unfamiliar with this bad boy, what is Blood and Treasure? What's your elevator pitch?
My elevator pitch.
Pitch, yeah. I mean, I'm sure you've been practicing this, right?
Yeah. My elevator pitch is different than the publisher. The publisher has a hard time selling this book because of, their preconceived notions about where things fit on the shelves and things like that. So, I will say how I like to pitch this book is you are thrust right now. Well, the elevator pitch is an ancient scroll and an astronaut from space are inextricably intertwined in an adventure that spans the globe and the fate of humanity. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. But when you start reading this book right in the prologue, you are thrust into mission control in NASA Johnson Space Center. And there's a problem on the station. You are attached to one character and nobody knows what's going on, and neither do you. And once they reestablish a feed, they're trying to figure out what's going on. They realize that everybody on board has been murdered by a single astronaut. Her name is Mojda Zahadi, and the space station blows up. After that, you're set off the coast of Mozambique, where you meet our protagonist Ethan Kane, and he is doing a job for someone, recovering something with his company, and it's a ancient artifact that he's recovering. Some bad people are after him. You're kind of with him when he's already pretty much recovered it. There's been a long history already that's kind of happened of him chasing after this thing and people chasing him, but you're at the tail end of it. So he's already recovered this thing. And then right when that happens, this fiery ball from the sky almost takes out their boat and lands in the ocean. And it's when he goes to investigate, it's a Soyuz space capsule, and inside, and it sank. And inside is a lone astronaut, and she needs to be rescued because the capsule's filling with water. Ethan rescues her, but he doesn't know who she is or why she's there. But the reader does. The reader knows who she is from the prologue, and what makes it, start to be intertwined is the same people who are after Ethan for the artifact are also after her. And you spend the entire book kind of unraveling the mystery of her and how they're connected and why everything happened on the space station the way it did. And that's it. And so what a lot of people don't really get from it is there's almost like two protagonists. There's Mojda Zahadi, the astronaut from space, and then there's Ethan Kane. So Ethan Kane is kind of our series protagonist, but for this book, Mojda is also Moj, as she's called, is also kind of like a dual protagonist.
When I was just not to give too many spoilers here, but reading the prologue, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Gravity with our girls Sandy B, Sandra Bullock, and George Clooney. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Yeah, I have. Yep.
But Gravity, very, very good to me. I saw that movie at a press screening. I saw it in 3D, and I'm not a big fan.
Awesome.
I don't like 3D, but I will say, Gravity as a film. And this is the funny thing. The film came out, got some attention, got reviews, all this, kind of press stuff, right, Ryan? But then a few years after it, nobody talks about it. Nobody, and I'm like, dude, Gravity is freaking awesome. Like, it is close to as science, maybe not so much science fact, but it's pretty darn, like, it's to me, it feels the most real outer space movie that could possibly happen in real life that we're ever going to get. It's basically Castaway in space. And that doesn't bother me. Not one bit. And Sandra Bullock carries the film brilliantly. And when she lands on Earth at the end, I'm thinking to myself, whoa, if this happened in real life, what a story that would be, honestly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, I don't, my initial kind of plan for this book was the whole Mojda astronaut character and involving the space station was actually a completely separate book idea that I had. And
oh, wow.
The book that I was going to write for what became Blood and Treasure, I felt like it was too linear, that I needed to kind of throw another dynamic element into it that just flipped everything on its head. And so I had that character and this idea for this astronaut who crashes, and you don't know kind of whether they're good or bad, and they vacillate between extreme good, extreme bad, and you basically stop guessing as the reader until the point where you reach an inevitable ending that still feels satisfying, and that makes everything that person did make sense according to what you find out about them. And so I kind of used that as the DNA for the story, and I built the whole story around that, and I really just enjoyed writing it. I thought it just fit so well with what I had already had in there, and I researched the space station a lot, and like you mentioned, gravity and stuff. And so I have a friend of mine who's I flew formation with him once in the Navy, and he's a retired Navy Top Gun pilot, test pilot. He was a NASA astronaut in a shuttle mission, and he helped design and commanded the ISS from the ground. His name is Joe Edwards, former NASA astronaut Joe Edwards. And he actually read the book, and a couple of weeks ago, he finally got back to me. He works for DARPA now. He's a really busy guy, but he finally got back to me, and we chatted for a couple of hours, and he's going to be writing a nice blurb for the book, which is really great of him. But he said I got like, what did he say? It was like 95% right on the money with all of the space station research that I did, which was really great to hear from him, that he did that, designed that, worked on that, flew in space, and he was never pulled out of the story. And, he realized that I had to do some things for fiction to make the story flow better. Like Capcom and Flight are two different people, but, it creates too many characters and there's too much confusion. So I had kind of them become, I kind of like merged those two characters for the sake of the story to make it flow better and not have all these extra people, because there's already a lot of characters. So you got to kind of like trim that out. So, some things you have to like kind of bend for fiction. But yeah, to get that endorsement from him was absolutely phenomenal. So like when people are reading this, you can be assured that the research is pretty spot on for the space station. But thankfully doesn't really bog the story down.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good to know. But getting that kind of endorsement and all that kind of jazz, I mean, honestly, that's
Yes! That's awesome!
I mean, that is, yeah, that's just like he said it best. Thank you, Sean William Scott, for making a cameo here on this
Fantastic.
episode. I mean, we aim to please, man. We don't mess around when it comes to moments and ideas and quotes. Lord knows we never we in the words of our good friend James Bond, we aim to please. Because that movie turns 30 in December. I don't know if you knew that or not, but GoldenEye
Really?
turns 30. Hashtag those are the facts.
Wow.
I know, it's okay. We don't look a day over 25. It's okay. But Blood and Treasure is part of a much bigger plan, I've been told. So what is the plan for Blood and Treasure and everything that comes after it moving forward? Is this going to turn out to be one of those MCU interconnected universes? Are there plans for 50,000 of these books? Maybe a spin-off, maybe a requel or a threequel? What's going to happen next with Blood and Treasure?
Sure. Yeah. So when I before I ever wrote this book, there were 2 Ethan Kane books that preceded this. So I had already written some. I had written a spin-off, or I had written a screenplay that was a prequel to this whole series. And if you've read the book, you know about Ethan Kane's backstory and Project Balboa. Well, there's a movie that I wrote called Project Balboa that talks about what that operation was, where Ethan Kane is actually like a side character in that story. And that is actually out right now with Ray Mendoza attached to direct. He just did Warfare and Civil War, and we got linked up years ago, and he's got that now at the out with some people. So we'll see what happens with that. But then there's a spin-off of that and the first Ethan Kane book that kind of, everything is interconnected, and Blood and Treasure is kind of at the center of all of it. And there's some sci-fi stuff that's connected. There's Easter eggs buried in it for a lot. There's a lot in this book. And, it'll, if everything goes my way, it'll probably take about like 10 years for it all to come out, but everyone will probably look back on this book and see everything that was in it and buried in it. Because I had already written all these things or had already planned to write all these things. So I put them all in because, I wanted to do something different where, the book has codes and secrets in and of itself that unlock tie-in content, short stories, extended prologues. There's like interactive choose your own adventure kind of computer games that are coming, that are attached to the book. And there's a lot of content that's going to carry readers from book 1 to book 2. That's all free. That'll be kind of unrolled, and that you got to use the book for, like to unlock the codes or secret passages or whatever. So there's some fun interactive stuff. It's not super hard. It's just fun. And none of the content is really long, and it's really accessible. So I tried to do that because, as a writer in this, world, when you're new, people read your first book and you got to wait a year for the second book. So I just didn't like that because I know that if I was on the other side, I'd want something else. So, there's a little bit that's going to help pull everybody along and, keep the world that I created relevant a little bit until we get people to the next to the next book, because it's not like, you know, you read one and you're like, oh wow, I like this author, I want to go read a bunch of stuff from them. So, you know, that's not the reality for me right now. So doing that was kind of a conscious decision. So, you know, and to make the book relevant itself again. So I did that. But then all these other tie-in things, you know, there's tons of Easter eggs in here for other stories. There's connected stories. There's spin-offs with other characters in completely different, you know, genres. There's like a straight espionage novel that's a spin-off of this book. And all these things are to come. It just takes a long time to get it all through. Like the audio drama that I just did, that's actually an Easter egg in this book, and it's a complete sci-fi. It has nothing to do with this book other than the Easter egg that is planted in it. But it's a really cool, really cool story. So yeah, just all that, even right down to the choose your own adventure book that I did. I can't really say anything about what it is, but if you remember from this book, there's an Easter egg for the choose your own adventure brand. If people were paying attention in a particular chapter in the beginning of the book. So there's all kinds of little things like that throughout it. And there's just a big wide universe. And the second book, you know, I made a conscious decision. I know that we're, you know, talking about this book, but, you know, you asked me about the whole universe. So the second book in the series, like, this isn't like a series with an arc. Like, you're not going to need to read this book to read the second book in any way, shape, or form. Every single book is written like it's the first book. You can pick it up. They're all self-contained, standalone adventures. There's some characters crossover, but not all of them. There's going to be new characters. It's not a carbon copy of this book. Like, a lot of, and I did that intentionally. Like, a lot of, you know, authors will just, you know, jump right in and then they're like, oh crap, I got to write book 2, and there's a lot of pressure, and then they just kind of write the same book because it worked. Again, it would have been very easy for me to create another character that was kind of like Moshe Zahadi and like do that whole thing. But I just went completely the other direction and gave everybody all the elements of what the Blood and Treasure series is going to be in my style that, you know, that hopefully people have enjoyed with this book, and then just did something completely different. So, yeah, so I hope people like it. And, you know, I'm writing the third one right now, and that's going to be the same style as that. So, yeah, I hope people enjoy it. But if it, you know, even if it only reaches a small core of people, like, you know, then I've done my job. So,
I mean, clearly you already had our curiosity, but now you have my attention. So, it's.
What's that one from?
That one is from Django Unchained from Quentin Tarantino with Leo DiCaprio.
Okay.
Leo DiCaprio has this giant drink in his hand. He's looking at he's looking at Jamie Foxx and Christoph Waltz, and he says, "Gentlemen, you had my curiosity.
I remember now.
But now you have my attention."
Yeah.
So that's a great way to that's a thing you can say at a party or something. You can pretty much say it anywhere at any point. It doesn't matter because it's not like you're cursing at anybody. It's just a way of putting your words out. But I noticed something in your background, and I'm just curious where this came from. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Yeah. Work harder. What does that mean exactly? Where did that come from?
I don't know where it came from. I saw it on a sign, and I was looking for, like, I don't have very much stuff in front of me. Like, I put this behind me for you guys and like for people to look at, because a blank wall is kind of annoying. But like for me, like, I don't really have much in front of me, and that was just kind of like, I saw that one time and that kind of became my mantra. I put it on a sticky note, and eventually I just got something for the wall for it, because I think, like, if anybody wants like a view behind the scenes into my process, like, that sums it up. Like, that sums it up right there. Like, you asked about doing signings. You jokingly and very graciously like mentioned, like, hopeful New York Times bestselling, like that kind of stuff would be great to, like, advance a series and all that kind of stuff. But for me, like, those are not my goals or my ambitions. My ambition is just to, eventually be able to pay the bills. If I can write another book, then I'm happy. If I get to continue to write stuff that people want to buy, then that's meeting my my goals. So yeah, I don't really care about all that stuff as much. I just want to satisfy the people who enjoy what I'm writing, because I'm fully aware that this is a genre that I really, really enjoyed, and I wasn't finding what I wanted, and I'm fully aware that I've broke this into the mainstream, and it hasn't been there yet. I remember sitting in my editor Tom Colgan's office, and I asked him. He had all these like military thrillers on the wall. You know, he represents like Clancy and Webb Griffin and Ludlum and like all this stuff, and I was like, hey, Tom Colgan, and I was like, hey, why'd you buy my book? Because none of the stuff on this wall is like what I've written. So I'm feeling a little insecure sitting in here. And he said that it's because it's not like anything on there, and it's unique. And like, so, you know, they're aware of it. Publishing is trying to take, or at least Berkeley is trying to take a, I don't want to say a risk, but they're trying to do something different, and they're trying to appeal to a cross genre readership. And you know, yeah, they're supporting this book, this series. I haven't really had any pushback from the publisher on where I'm going with it, what I'm doing with it. They don't cut anything from my books. They don't. I'm very involved in the cover process. I've noticed I'm very involved in everything, and I think that they're kind of so out of their, and I don't speak this poorly of the publisher at all. I think they're so out of their element with what this genre is that they're deferring to me. I think they've seen that I've got a little bit of momentum with it, and you know, because I was a fan of it, that like they don't quite understand it, so they're deferring to me a little bit more, which is really nice. It's really nice, and I'm taking advantage of it and really trying to advance the genre. Because, you know, Clive Cussler, he's fantastic, and he was an amazing writer. But when you really think about it, he became so big, he gobbled up all the competition in the genre. There were tons of people writing like what Clive was writing, but he became so big, he branched off on all these different series, and he would snatch up an author when they first, like Boyd Morrison, you know, Boyd Morrison started writing stuff like that. He snatched him up and got him to write for him. Graham Brown was doing the same thing. Jack DeBroil, like all these authors, you know, would get snagged by him, and they probably would have gone on to write, you know, very competitive adventure fiction. And they got snatched up early within like 1 or 2 books in, and they didn't really get a chance to grow and find the readership that he did. So he kind of like controlled the market for adventure, and kind of almost had a stranglehold on it, and still does to some effect. So, you know, I think I got a little sidetracked there with your original question because I've completely forgot it. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to take the kind of rope that they've given me and just run with it, and just try to do what I feel compelled to do for this genre and what I like. And I hope everybody enjoys it, because it's going to continue to be very different. So right down to the stuff that I do, like with it, you know, with the codes in it, what it's going to do. You know, like we did the augmented reality cover. You know, nobody had really done that before. And for book 2, this was kind of like a proof of concept kind of thing on like what I could do with it. So, you know, my plan is to make it more interactive with the book, and make it more of an interactive experience, like while you read. So I don't want to, you know, give away too much, but yeah, like just really trying to push the limits of, you know, entertainment, and it doesn't have to be just contained in the book. That I want to try and make it a whole experience, that, you know, people can pull in as much of it as they want and have the whole experience, or even if they don't and they just read the book, they're still having they're not missing out on anything. So
Yeah, the footage from that augmented reality thing for your book, that is some never thought I'd see that happen. But then again, technology has grown by leaps and bounds, folks.
it has, and we got to catch up. We got to catch up quick.
Yeah, I don't know if I can catch up that quickly. Glenn Powell apparently can do it, because I don't know if you noticed this or not, but Glenn Powell's in the new Running Man movie that's out or coming out soon.
Oh,
I know, a remake of the Arnie classic. I'm like, why would you want to remake Running Man? I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
They're remaking everything. They just remade Naked Gun, came out yesterday with Liam Neeson and Pam Anderson. Did you hear about that one?
Really? No.
Yeah, they remade Naked Gun, and guess who? And Liam Neeson's playing Frank Drebin Jr., Leslie Nielsen's son, in this movie.
Oh man.
And I'm like, what is
Sounds
going
like
on?
they're just out of ideas, and they're just trying to harvest like
yeah.
what's left of
Yeah.
the generation who really liked that movie
Mhm.
before.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, Liam Neeson's got some comedy chops, surprisingly, because when he's good cop, bad cop, the voiceover in Lego Movie, that is brilliant. But when you're doing a live action,
yeah.
I'm like Liam Neeson as a comedic actor. He's done some comedy here and there, but he's really never like full on dove into the genre until now, because I'm so
Yeah.
used to him breaking people's arms and breaking people's necks in every movie he's ever been in the last 20 years. Because ever since Taken came out in 2008, the movie Taken, every movie he's done since then is pretty much a ripoff of Taken.
Well, you know why? Because he has a special set of skills.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. It's Liam Neeson, brother. I mean, and it's funny because he was a
he's
Jedi
too old
Knight.
to do that stuff. He's too old to do that stuff now.
Yeah. Well, is he though? Because he's still making those
Maybe
movies,
not to be a Jedi Knight, but he's too old to like break someone's arm and be the Taken guy. So I think he has to adapt. Like he's gotta, like that's what Robert De Niro did, right? He had to go into comedy as an older guy.
Robert De Niro,
make fun of himself.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Liam Neeson, I love him as an actor. He was also obviously Qui-Gon Jinn in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, which, by the way, there's a book about the relationship between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan that you should, if you get a chance. It's called Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray. And it's a really good Star Wars novel set in the Star Wars galaxy. I would really encourage anybody who's interested in reading standalone stuff, because I know a lot of things are interconnected these days. Read Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray if you get a chance, Ryan. I think you would enjoy it.
Sure.
If you want to dive into some sci-fi stuff, I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah. You were mentioning like, interconnected. Like I said that a lot of my stuff is connected, but
yes,
the thing about it is each thing can be read completely on its own.
That's right.
And you will not
get
everything
lost.
Is completely standalone, every single thing. But at the same time, if you were to read it all, you're gonna have a way cooler experience, but you don't have to. And that's what I so I don't want everybody to think, oh, it's all connected and like you need to read everything to, not at all.
No, I wasn't necessarily thinking that. No. And once again, this is, and I quote with the guest of honor, not, future New York Times bestselling writer Ryan Pote. See, I want to rephrase this for you so I don't get in trouble. But don't forget to like and share this. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments. You mentioned not being the biggest fan of TOD earlier on in the show, Temple of Doom. So is Temple of Doom just not a film you rewatch of that trilogy? You're just like, you know what? It may have happened. It may have come out in '84, but I just don't. It didn't happen.
You know what it is. So like I never used to think that. I used to just like it, just like everything else. But then when I became a writer,
yes,
like I said, like you can't enjoy anything the same way you did. And so Temple of Doom was actually the first one, and it was written first, and it didn't go anywhere. And then Raiders succeeded. So then it's almost like, oh, I have success. I'm going to dust off the one I wrote before and then put it in there. But typically, when you write something and write it first with the same characters, because I did this for me at least. Like it's not fully developed into what it could be. And then you write another one and that one strikes a chord, and that should be the trajectory of the series. So it seems to me when I watch it, even though, they probably revised it, whatever, that just the core idea of it didn't fit with what the Indiana Jones series trajectory was from Raiders. And it seems like they tried to fit a square peg into a round hole. And then that's why you see The Last Crusade kind of picked up, it's almost like they recognized their mistake, and The Last Crusade picked up on the same trajectory as Raiders was. So, I kind of look at things like that, like on a, on a trajectory. So because a trajectory is like, in pilot speak, it's like, you see something flying and you kind of can plan where it's going to be because you see where it's gone. You see its, trail behind. And like readers, I feel, or anyone watching entertainment, when you have a series, you should be able to see that trajectory so that kind of what's coming, where the world is going, and it doesn't, hit you out of left field, too far out. I mean, so yeah, anyways, I'm very in tune with that. So like, I think the second movie was outside of the trajectory.
It's okay. The one reason that film doesn't work is 2 words: Willie Scott. Get out of here. Too much screaming, too much yelling, too much jibber jabber. I mean, look, and here's the funny thing too, because when I first saw the movie for the first time ever, just a couple of years ago, Ryan, I thought it was okay. I didn't really like it all that much because Willie
Hmm.
Scott is so blankety blank annoying. You know, she's incredibly annoying. But then when I went back, rewatched it, with a different set of eyes, or I just kind of gave it a second chance, if you know what I mean. I realized, you know what? The last 40 minutes of this film is jacked up action, and that's awesome. I think I
Yeah.
can forgive the negativity and some of the things I don't like about, like ripping a guy's heart out. I don't need to see that. I cover my eyes during that scene, Kalima, and the whole
Yeah,
Willie screaming her head off every 2 freaking seconds. I can tune it out. I can tune it out, enjoy the film for what it is. Short Round, hold on to your potatoes. Like, and I've met Short Round twice. I've met him. And
Oh,
Ki
wow.
Kwan's a very nice man. He looked at me from across the room one day and he said, "Dr. Jones, get over here, Dr. Jones." Because I was
Oh my
wearing my
gosh.
Indiana Jones cosplay. I was debuting
Was
my
this
Indiana at a
okay?
convention. This is at a convention, a
Nice.
Comic-Con. I don't know
That's
if you're
awesome.
familiar with Comic-Cons, but
I am. Yeah.
they are the best thing since sliced bread. Nothing against Blood and Treasure, but Comic-Cons are the best thing since sliced bread. So when I went to this Comic-Con and I met Ki Kwan, and I think this was the second time I saw him, he's like, "Dr. Jones, come on over here." And I went over to him. He's like, "You look great. I like your out. Like, you look like Dr. Jones. You look so good. You look great in this outfit." I said, "Well, it's funny you should say that, Key, because this is my first time wearing it." He's like, "Oh, you look great." So
It's awesome.
dude, he was to get a seal of approval from someone in the franchise and in that universe, Ryan. That's as we say, that's chef's kiss, right? So
Oh yeah.
Comic-Cons, I've been going to them for 13 years, brother. They've been very, very good to me. Have I met some of the biggest names in Hollywood? You're darn right. Have some of
That's
them
awesome.
been on the show? Not a whole lot, because I'm a small fish in a very big pond, as you probably well know. But I've gotten people on the show. I've got Bill Sadler from Die Hard 2 has been on the show.
Oh, cool.
Guy Gilchrist, Jim Henson's cartoonist and close friend, was on the show at one point talking about his
Oh,
work with Jim
wow.
Henson. Because Jim Henson's a freaking amazing. He always was.
Genius.
Yeah.
Absolute genius.
Absolute genius. Great storyteller too. So
and what a lot of people don't know is a lot of his works were interconnected as well.
that's another thing. Long live Jim Henson and his legacy. Let's not forget about that. And by the way, I don't know if you and your family do this during the holiday season, but we make it a point to watch Muppet Christmas Carol every holiday season.
We do, but we actually take it a step further. When
Really?
we
Why
were
is that?
kids, my mom taped, because it was for TV only. It was 45 minutes. The Muppet Family Christmas.
Yeah.
Where they all go to Fozzie's mom's house.
Fozzie's
and they bring
mom's,
the
yeah.
Sesame Street gang. So
Mhm.
that has been a tradition in my family forever. We continue now. My kids watch it.
Yeah. And then you have to give a wink and a nod to that great cameo at the very end of it with Jim Henson saying, "Oh, they're having a good time, Sprocket."
Yeah. Let's
I
do
like-
the dishes.
I like to see it when people are having a good time, Sprocket. You know what time it is?
Yeah. Oh, they brought the Fraggles into that one and everything for
the
for a
Fraggles were in
Muppet
that?
kid. Yeah, for a Muppet kid, that movie was great.
Wow. Because my brothers, I have 2 older brothers. They grew up on Fraggle Rock. That was a little before my time. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, no, we've had some great names across the landscape of our podcast, and we've had a great time talking to those folks. But yeah, no.
Great.
But to bring it back to Temple of Doom, yeah, I appreciate it now more so than I did a few years ago when I first saw it. So I still count Indiana Jones as a trilogy, even though I think most of us can all agree that Temple of Doom is the lesser of the 3. But it's still a trilogy, and it's still enjoyable. So
yeah, no, it's still enjoyable.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying becoming a writer just ruins everything, because now you're like nitpick and you're looking at everything from a different eye, and it ruins everything.
We are going to die. It's like, which he says in Temple of Doom. My personal favorite is Last Crusade, because it's fun, because I saw every movie franchise that's ever come out, Ryan. I've seen everything out of order. I saw Last Crusade before
Ooh.
Raiders. I saw Terminator 2 Judgment Day before I saw The Terminator from '84. I saw what was the other one that we were talking about? I think I saw Predators long before I ever saw Predator. So
Oh wow. Okay.
I did. And here's another thing for you. I saw Die Hard with a Vengeance before Die Hard.
Wow. This is like a thing for you.
It is, isn't it? Isn't that weird?
So if they ever make Blood and Treasure into a movie, you're gonna have to wait a couple of years until another one comes out, and then you.
I don't know about that. If Blood and Treasure were to hypothetically, if this thing were going to come out tomorrow, I'd be there front row center. Just out of curiosity, though, if you want to play fantasy baseball, who would you cast for a Blood and Treasure movie or series?
No, I don't play that game.
You don't play the fantasy baseball? You don't want to play casting? No.
No, I don't play the casting game. I don't do it when I'm writing, and I don't do it. Now because then you'll get excited about it, and if these things ever happen,
they'll have certain expectations, I guess.
Yeah, you don't want to have an expectation, because here's the thing:
is that what it is?
Whoever you like today, by
Right.
the time this thing gets made,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to be aged out of the character, and it's not going to work out or they're going to be so big budget that now you're going to have a big budget actor and a low budget film. The way everything works these days. So I don't really put my stock in that very much. Like what I'm doing right now is, there's a lot of movement in Hollywood on this property and other properties that I have. And, we've been having meetings about it and stuff. And I'm just looking for somebody who shares my vision. Like I have a job, I have a full-time job that pays all my bills. I'm not like, gonna starve if I don't sell the film rights to this, so I'm in a very good position as um the writer where I can kind of be picky and choosy. So when I'm sitting down with these people, I'm trying to find out what their vision is, my level of involvement in it. And so yeah, I'm leaning more towards that than I am who's going to act in it. I
No,
could
I
care
get
less
that.
about that. It goes right to the audiobook too. Like so the audiobook's narrated by William Demerit, and we become friends. He's an absolutely fantastic. He's Yale trained Shakespearean actor. He's been in Hollywood for a little bit as well, but he wasn't as much of a well-known audiobook narrator. He's done some Star Wars. He's done so a Brandon Sanderson book. He's done the Ludlum book. He's done some things, but he's not like super famous audiobook narrator. And when we had like 8 auditions for this from some of the biggest names out there, and I don't want to say their names because I think it's kind of rude and mean, but from some very big names, big enough that like my editor was like, "You didn't pick them, like like you just ruined your sales numbers or whatever." And I went with the best person to bring this book to life, and bring the characters to life. And he did that. And, he'd had an amazing performance. I wouldn't be surprised if he got nominated for an Audi. He did such a fantastic job in the audiobook. So, that's kind of where I go with these things. Like I put my trust in talented people and let them run with it and do their thing with it. So it worked out really great for the audiobook production. And, anything that comes in the future, I hope, I know that it will have the same kind of result because I know what my standard is, which is a quality product over, selling my soul for a paycheck. And so.
No, that's understandably so. I mean, but just for argument's sake, it wouldn't be a bad. And like I said, focus on the book, focus on the story. That's all that matters. But if Nate Hummel or Luke Goodish, want to audition for this role of Ethan Kane, go right ahead. Maybe they'll get a shot at it. I don't know. Maybe Terrence Leahy could play a supporting role. I don't know. Just want to get sorry. I just gotta give my guys
Absolutely
some credence here because they've done some. They do their own films and things like that, and they're doing so well. And Terrence, the way he's ridiculously good looking with those suits, I'm just thinking to myself, dude, this guy could be in any movie and steal the show just with his suit
wears
alone.
a suit so well. And it's really hard to do when you're wearing boxer shorts with the suit jacket and top, and but he pulls it off so well.
Yeah, I honestly, Terrence, I know you're watching this at some point or another. I don't know how you do it, brother. I really don't. But what I do know is that this has been an incredible, epic episode of Anti Quote. I want to take this opportunity right here and right now to thank Ryan Pote for being our guest on this week's episode. And yeah, speaking of Terrence, take a look at that. He's got a copy of your book, Terrence, Unwanted Passenger, which I believe is a Mitch.
It's on my
Leahy
TBR.
story.
I haven't read this one yet, but I have read this one.
Hey,
and that is a very fun book, right down to the vibe, the noir vibes that it has, the pulp vibes that it has. And this is on my TBR as well. I haven't read this yet, but this and Unwanted Passenger are my next up as well. But these guys are writing some really cool pulp stuff that is fun for the genre. So.
Look at that. Terrence, I don't know if you saw, but guess what? Terrence finally walked in here during a live portion of the show. He says, Hey, you guys.
Hey, you guys.
Right. What's up, Terrence? Good to see you. We just gave you a massive shout out a second ago, man. He was holding up your book for the camera. He literally was.
You missed it.
It's on his TBR. It's all there. But this has been an incredible episode, I got to say, Ryan, with all due respect. Thank you for being here. Thanks for taking time out of your very busy schedule because you're a busy man with a million things on your plate. And you're putting together an interconnected universe, which we're excited to grab hold of and go on this wild ride or adventure, as one might say. You know, I mean, I'm just going to go after that truck. But how? I don't know. I'm making this up as I go. Hopefully Ryan Pote isn't making this up as he goes, because I'm doing it sometimes when it comes to my writing. So don't pull a RP Ryan Permison on me here, guys. But Ryan, if someone wants to know more about you or keep up to date with everything that you're doing, where can they follow you on social media, man?
So I'm on like Facebook and X and Instagram, but honestly, it's so busy that I post on all of them, but I tend to be more active on Instagram because it's just easier for me to do that. So Instagram is like you'll get the latest and greatest information. My website, ryanpote.com, bookmark that because it's an interactive website. There's hidden passages on it and stuff like that you need the book to unlock. So as I unveil that stuff between now and, probably the tail end of the winter, you'll want to go back to that website because that's where it's going to host all of those things. If you want on Goodreads as well, if you're not a Goodreads member, I set up a readers group. So there's like discussion boards and stuff. So if you're really into this stuff that I'm going to be launching, that really pulls you into the extra content deeper into the book, you'll find the discussion groups there where I'm going to tease out like clues and stuff ahead of time before. So you can go there for, if you really want to dive into the stuff. I don't think it has a very big group yet, but I think there's like 15 or 16 people already in it. So, at least, it's like its own little Discord group to kind of help people along with the secrets and codes.
Great stuff. Final question though. Favorite Indiana Jones scene or line said in a film from Indiana Jones?
Oh, my favorite scene ever is the ad lib scene where the guy's got the swords and then he pulls the gun and shoots him. I love that they added that. I love just how that scene came about. It's like great comedic timing. It's just so like on brand for that movie, and the fact that they just kind of came up with it and how they came up with it was awesome. Like I think he had the flu, and so he was really tired in the heat that day. So Harrison Ford, and he didn't want to go through the whole fight scene. Then he was like, "Hey, I got this gun. Why don't I just shoot him?" And I think that's just fantastic. Like, because when you're writing, honestly, like that's how that stuff kind of happens. Like like a little like thing when I was coming up with this book, my outline, I originally did not have that whole like. There's a whole scene where I won't give a spoiler, but there's a pirate ship, a modern day pirate ship that they find themselves involved with. And there's a scene, where I'll just say, for those of you who have read it, you'll know. Otherwise, there's a fishing scene in that, and that whole sequence like was not even something that was in my outline or plan. It was just as I was writing it, it just seemed like something to just go with. So those things pop up all the time, and those are usually like the most fun things. Is the unplanned ones that the story just kind of brings you. So anyways, I like that scene in the movie.
Yeah. Favorite line from Indiana Jones movies?
Oh, favorite line.
Yeah.
Oh, now you're really putting me on the spot because it's been a little while.
If you need help, I'm the quote master, so just ask.
Yeah, you're gonna have to quote master me. What did he say after he gets on the plane and there's a snake
There's a snake in the plane, Jacques. Oh, that's just my pet snake, Reggie. I hate snakes, Jacques. I hate them. Oh, come on, show that.
It's either that one or it's the flashback from the Last Crusade where he says that belongs in a museum. That one too.
when he's the Boy Scout, or when he actually gets the cross coronado from the Panama hat.
Yeah, when he's a man.
And he says, that belongs in a museum. So do you. Throw him over the side.
Exactly.
Yep. Is that what you're getting at? All right, cool.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure I miss.
Thank you. You are the quote like vault.
Well, here's the thing. My favorite Indiana Jones movie is Last Crusade, and I've seen the movie dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of times. To the point where I've cosplayed as the character at conventions. And not only that, I have the fertility idol. I have the Grail diary with all the inserts, everything that was ever involved in that movie. I have a copy of it that I won in a giveaway from a gentleman who makes replicas of the props from the movies.
Oh, well, then you'll like this stuff then. I'll do a little teaser. I'll do something special, something cool for each person's interview.
Yeah.
So this right here. So I had this Makarov in book one, and it played a role, and I have it to do stuff. And so this right here.
Yeah. Oh, I see it.
Is a prop, but it's not really a prop, and it's going to be involved in book two. And this is a handmade Mongolian cavalry sword made in Mongolia.
Wow.
And it's
look at that.
Absolutely beautiful.
Look
the
at that.
detailing on this is a rosewood scabbard.
Ooh.
Just absolutely gorgeous. So I'm actually, I'm using this for some content as I roll out, some trailers for book 2, but I'm actually going to be giving this and other items, kind of fandom,
Oh boy.
artifact kind of items away for book 2. I have some kind of cool things that I'm going to do with book 2. So what I'm going to do, so there's going to be some like sweepstakes, like you order the book, you enter like really big sweepstakes. Like I'm going to give away like some insane prize packages with this next book. But what I'm going to do for fans is
I'm in.
the first 2 weeks after publication, there's going to be a treasure hunt, and you'll be able to, you don't have to, buy anything, do anything. Well, you kind of have to, because you kind of need books 1 and 2, but it's going to be basically like this trivia treasure hunt with a lot of the things from book 1 and book 2, and there'll be like this thing you go on a website where you enter in all your answers, and you'll have 2 weeks to do it, and it's going to be kind of short, not going to be very long, but once you enter them all correctly, that enters you into the sweepstakes, and there's going to be like 3 major prize packages for just that. That's all you'll have to do, and this is going to be one of them. And this, so one of the prizes is going to be this Mongolian cavalry sword, which is absolutely beautiful. And this right here is a gold gilded Marco Polo's travel.
Wow.
The travels of Marco Polo. It's gilded in gold. The pages are gold, 24 karat gold. And it's a beautiful edition of travels. Let me pull it down real quick. Let me pull it down.
No, that's sure. I was just going to say, in the words of, because I know these words have been said for many different years, but in the words of Tony Stark, I want one. Yeah, I want one.
All real gold leaf, and it's beautiful. This edition, and it's in English, so you can read it. But it's beautiful, like all real leather grain bounds. Anyways, this is just one. This combo is one of the prize packages for stuff like you just mentioned. Like there's 2 others as well that are kind of cool like this. But yeah, just tease that out as well.
Gee willikers, can I have them, please? I mean, I was honestly. I am ready to attack my destiny here and go on an adventure with these items, or whatever.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
I got these things bubbling up in my mind.
The other 2 kits are very similar to those. They come from book 1, and they'll be things that people who, if they enjoyed book 1, they'll really want these. Kind of like this stuff. It'd be really cool. And it's just a fun little treasure hunt thing where it'll be kind of like a group of everybody going through it, and it'll be a fun sweepstakes.
Gee willikers. Well, on that happy note, Terrence says I'm going to screenshot what you guys spoke about me later. And then Nate Hummel says, thank you so much for the shout out from both of you guys.
Yeah, man.
You're welcome, Nate. You're a gentleman and a scholar. And Terrence says, awesome website. Incredible planning on your part, Ryan.
I'm trying to be different, Terrence.
I mean, you're killing it in so many regards. I was going to text you this a little bit later on here, Ryan, but I'm going to say it here for the record now. Ryan Pote, you are so money you don't even know it. Honestly. Man.
I don't, man. I got my head down. I'm focused on the prize. So I'm just going to keep churning out stuff, and hopefully you guys keep liking it.
Well, for those of you wondering what that means, it's a form of encouragement. I tell someone there's so money they don't even know it. That's a line from your Friendly Neighborhood movie from 1996. It turns 30 next year.
Figured it was.
It's called Swingers with Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau before they were Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau. So
I hear you.
Jon Favreau's a down on his luck actor, but he's also getting out of a bad relationship. So he's trying to like get back into the dating circle. And his friend Trent, played by Vince Vaughn, encourages him to do it. And he says, look, the best thing you can do is just get back out there. And you know what, Mike? Your money. You're the big winner tonight. You're a big winner in more ways than one. And then he drops that line on him. You're so money you don't even know it. That's where that comes from.
I love it.
So if you ever get a chance to have a movie night between you and the missus and the kids are asleep or whatever, watch the romantic comedy known as Swingers. I know Swingers is a negative connotation, but don't let that fool you because it's a better movie than what the title sounds. So it's a rom-com and it is rated, I think it's rated R, but only because there's a couple of F-bombs thrown in there. But like I said, it's a good movie. It's funny. It's hilarious. It's got Favreau and Vaughn before they were like world famous as they are now.
That's great.
Check it out, man. I think you will enjoy it. But on that happy note, Ryan, thank you for being here. I'm going to talk to you here again momentarily.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to you here again momentarily. So in the words of Arnold, stick around. Name's Ryan of Anti Quote Channel, just in case anyone's wondering, which Ryan are we talking to? Which one am I listening to right now? Ryan Pote just spoke about the great packages or giveaways that are going to happen at some point in the future. My name is Ryan of Anti Quote Channel. Follow me. Where am I pointing to, Ryan? There it is. Ryan of Anti Quote Channel. There it is. Follow us across all forms of social media. Don't forget, we're on the road to 5,000. Once we do, we'll have a live stream that will include special giveaways that you, the person who's watching or listening to this right now, are going to be eligible to win. We also have merch. We have hoodies, t-shirts. We have water bottles. We have stickers you can add to your water bottles. We have coffee mugs, that kind of stuff. It's located in the descriptions below, and it's also in our social media bios, more specifically. And the links to where you can follow myself and Ryan Pote are, in fact, located in the description of this video down below. So check it out. And remember, do not forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when the videos go up or they go live. Remember, life is better when supporting indie creators from all over the world. Take a look.
There it is. Luckily for you, you won't have to go through half of what I went through to get your copy. All you have to do is place an order. Treasure is My Trade is out now. Don't miss your chance.
A mission for the police. A mysterious passenger. Mitch Mayhew is carrying more than the mail this flight. Unwanted Passenger is a roaring, prop-spinning, pulse-pounding historical thriller for fans of aerial stunts, flapper-era intrigue, and reluctant heroes with debts to pay and demons to outrun. Order your copy of Unwanted Passenger today.
Good morning! Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.